Every Christmas, my parents forgot about me while they gave my sister luxury trips around the world. Year after year, I watched them celebrate with her while I spent the holidays completely alone. But this year, I finally snapped. And what I did next destroyed my entire family in ways they never saw coming. Every single Christmas morning, I woke up to the same hollow feeling in my chest. My name is Nicole, I'm 32 years old, and for the past decade, I've watched my parents shower my younger sister Amanda with luxury vacations while I got forgotten in the background. It started when I was 22, and Amanda was 19. That year, my parents announced they were taking Amanda to Paris for Christmas. I remember standing in their living room in Seattle, holding a cheap $25 gift card to a coffee shop, watching Amanda squeal over her plane tickets to France. My mom barely looked at me when she handed me that card. "We knew you'd understand, Nicole. You're so independent. Amanda needs this experience more than you do. She's been through so much lately." Those words burned into my memory like a brand. Independent. That became their excuse for everything. Their justification for treating me like I was somehow less deserving of their love and attention. But here's what they didn't know about my so-called independence. I had been putting myself through nursing school while working night shifts at Seattle General Hospital. I was paying my own rent on a tiny studio apartment in a neighborhood that wasn't exactly safe. I was buying my own groceries, paying my own bills, fixing my own car when it broke down. Everything was on me. Meanwhile, Amanda lived at home completely rent-free in her childhood bedroom that my parents had renovated for her with new furniture and a flat-screen television. She worked part-time at an upscale boutique in downtown Seattle, maybe 20 hours a week when she felt like showing up. Every Christmas after that first Paris trip became a new exotic destination for Amanda. The year after Paris, it was Italy where they toured Rome and Venice, then Greece where they island-hopped for 2 weeks, then the Bahamas where they stayed at some 5-star resort, then Spain where they ate at Michelin-starred restaurants. Each year, without fail, I'd receive a text message on Christmas Eve. "We're at the airport. Wish you were here." With a photo of the three of them smiling in front of a departure board. No invitation, no apology, no acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I deserve to be included in my own family's Christmas celebration. Just that casual cruelty disguised as thoughtful family updates. I'd spend Christmas alone in my tiny apartment with its broken heater and flickering lights, eating Chinese takeout from the place down the street, watching old movies on my laptop, and pretending it didn't hurt, pretending I didn't matter, pretending their abandonment year after year was somehow my fault for being too independent, too capable, too strong to need them. But it did hurt. It hurt more than I ever let anyone know. It hurt so deeply that sometimes I couldn't breathe when I thought about it. This past year was different, though. This year, I finally had enough money saved to do something I'd been planning for months. Something that would teach them a lesson they'd never forget for the rest of their lives. You see, I'd been working double shifts at the hospital for 18 months straight. I was exhausted, burned out, running on coffee and pure spite. But I had a goal, a plan. Something that would finally make them see me. Really see me as more than just the independent daughter who didn't need anything from anyone. I'd saved $23,000. Every single penny counted, every sacrifice documented in my budget spreadsheet. All for this moment. All for what I was about to do. And they had absolutely no idea what was coming their way. October rolled around, and like clockwork, I got the phone call from my mom. "Nicole, honey, we need to talk about Christmas plans." Her voice had that fake cheerfulness that made my stomach turn, that artificial brightness she always used when she was about to deliver news she knew would hurt me. I was sitting in my car outside the hospital after a brutal 12-hour shift, my scrubs stained, my body aching, my mind exhausted from dealing with difficult patients and their families all day long. My feet were killing me, and all I wanted was to go home and collapse into bed. "Sure, Mom. What's the plan this year?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral even though I already knew exactly what she was going to say. It was the same conversation we'd had every October for the past 10 years. "Well, Amanda has been working so hard at the boutique, and your father and I thought she deserved a special trip this year. We're thinking about taking her to Switzerland. The Alps are beautiful in winter. Can you imagine skiing in the Swiss mountains? It's been Amanda's dream forever." My mom's excitement was palpable through the phone, her voice practically vibrating with enthusiasm. Working so hard. Amanda worked maybe 20 hours a week when she bothered to show up, and she still lived at home without paying a single bill. "That sounds nice," I managed to say, gripping my steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My mom continued without missing a beat, without even pausing to ask how I was doing or if I'd had a good day at work. We'll be gone for 2 weeks. December 15th through the 30th. I know you'll be working anyway during the holidays, so it won't be a big deal for you, right? You're always so busy at the hospital during Christmas. We figured you wouldn't even notice we were gone. Won't be a big deal. 10 years of being excluded from family Christmas celebrations, and it still wasn't a big deal to them. 10 years of spending the holidays completely alone, and they still didn't think it mattered. Actually, Mom, I was hoping we could all spend Christmas together this year. Here in Seattle, at my apartment, I could host everyone. Cook a real Christmas dinner with turkey and all the traditional sides. Make it a real family holiday for once. I've been looking forward to it. The words came out hopeful, almost pleading, and I hated myself for it. The silence on the other end lasted just long enough to tell me everything I needed to know. I could practically hear her thinking of the gentlest way to reject me yet again, to make me feel like my request was unreasonable. Oh, Nicole, that's really sweet of you to offer, honey. But the tickets to Switzerland are already booked and paid for. We've already put down deposits on the hotel and the ski equipment rentals. Everything is arranged. You understand, right? You're always so understanding about these things. That's what we love about you. You never make things difficult or complicated. I understood perfectly. I understood that I'd never been their priority and never would be. I understood that Amanda's wants would always trump my needs. I understood that being the responsible, independent daughter meant being the invisible one. I understand completely, Mom, I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. And I did understand. I understood exactly what I needed to do next, what I'd been planning to do for months, what would finally change everything between us forever. They had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks later, I was sitting cross-legged on my apartment floor going through my bank statements and budget spreadsheets. $23,000. 18 months of sacrifice, of exhaustion, of living on practically nothing so I could save every possible penny. But it was all there in my savings account, waiting for the perfect moment to be used. My phone buzzed on the coffee table with yet another text from Amanda. This time, it was a photo of her trying on expensive ski outfits at some boutique, with the caption, "Can't wait for Switzerland. Mom and Dad are literally the best parents ever. So blessed." I stared at that message for a long time, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. They were the best parents to her because she never had to work for their love or attention. She never had to prove she was worthy of their time and affection. She just existed, breathing and smiling, and that was enough for them. Meanwhile, I'd spent an entire decade trying desperately to earn even a fraction of what they gave her so freely and thoughtlessly. I'd worked myself to exhaustion, put myself through nursing school, built a career, tried to make them proud. And for what? For nothing. My best friend Rachel came over that evening with pizza and wine like she always did on Friday nights. She'd been listening to me complain about my family situation for years now, offering tissues and advice in equal measure. "You're really going through with it?" she asked carefully, settling onto my threadbare couch with a slice of pepperoni pizza. "The plan you've been talking about for months? You're actually going to do it?" I nodded slowly, taking a bite of pizza and chewing thoughtfully before answering. The plan had been forming in my mind for so long that it felt almost inevitable now. Rachel looked genuinely concerned, her eyebrows furrowed with worry. "Are you absolutely sure about this? I mean, they're still your family, Nicole. They're still your parents and your sister. Maybe you should just try talking to them one more time. Sit them down and really explain how their actions have made you feel all these years. Give them a chance to understand and change." I laughed, but there was absolutely no humor in the sound. It came out bitter and harsh, almost mocking. "I've tried talking to them for 10 years, Rachel. 10 years of dropping hints, of trying to explain, of hoping they'd notice how hurt I was. They don't listen. They don't care. They don't want to understand. At this point, actions speak so much louder than words ever could." "What exactly are you planning to do?" she asked carefully, setting down her pizza and looking at me with those worried eyes. I smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was cold and calculated, the smile of someone who'd been pushed too far for too long. "You'll see soon enough. Everyone will see. The whole family is going to see what happens when you forget about someone for 10 years straight. But first, I need them to go on their little Switzerland trip. I need them to have the absolute time of their lives with Amanda, posting photos and videos and making memories, because what comes after they get back will hit them so much harder that way. The contrast will be devastating." Rachel didn't ask any more questions that night. She knew me well enough to know that once I made up my mind about something, absolutely nothing and no one could change it. November came and went in a blur of hospital shifts and holiday preparations. Thanksgiving was the usual family disaster that I'd come to expect and dread in equal measure. My parents hosted dinner at their house, and the entire 3-hour meal revolved exclusively around Amanda's upcoming Switzerland trip. "The hotel has an incredible spa," my mom gushed, showing everyone photos on her phone of the luxury resort they'd booked. "And there's this restaurant with a Michelin star that we're taking Amanda to for Christmas dinner. The reviews are absolutely phenomenal. We're so excited." My dad nodded enthusiastically, his face lit up with genuine excitement. "We got Amanda brand new top-of-the-line ski equipment, too. Nothing but the absolute best for our girl. She deserves it after everything she's been through this year." I sat there at the corner of the table eating my turkey and mashed potatoes, feeling completely invisible as always. At one point during the meal, my Aunt Karen asked me about my work at the hospital, seeming genuinely interested in what I'd been doing. "Nicole's always working," my mom interrupted sharply before I could even open my mouth to answer. "She's so independent and self-sufficient, never needs anything from anyone. Not like some people who actually appreciate family support." There it was again. That word. Independent. The word they used constantly to justify neglecting me. The word that gave them permission to forget I existed as a real person, with real feelings and real needs. After dinner, while I was helping clean up in the kitchen, Amanda cornered me by the sink where I was washing dishes. "You're not mad about the Switzerland trip, are you?" she asked, but her tone suggested she didn't really care about my answer at all. It was performative concern, the kind of question you ask because you're supposed to, not because you want to know the truth. I mean, you're always so busy with work at the hospital anyway. It's not like you'd have time for a 2-week vacation even if we invited you. You'd probably have to work through Christmas like you always do. I looked at my 29-year-old sister standing there in her designer jeans and expensive sweater that our parents had bought her, who'd never paid a bill in her entire life, who'd never struggled for anything, who'd never once wondered if she mattered to her own parents. "I'm not mad, Amanda," I said calmly, drying my hands on a dish towel. "I hope you have an absolutely wonderful time in Switzerland. Really and truly, enjoy every single moment of it. Soak it all in. Make lots of memories." She smiled with visible relief, her whole body relaxing. "I knew you'd understand. You're seriously the best big sister ever. Even if you can't come with us on trips and stuff. Can't come." As if I'd been invited and had declined. As if the choice to exclude me had been mine. But before I reveal what I was planning to do, answer me in the comments. What would you do if your family forgot about you every single year? If you watched them give someone else everything while you got absolutely nothing? Write in the comments what you'd do in my situation. December 15th arrived with cold rain and gray skies typical of Seattle winters. I woke up early to a group text from my mom with photos from the airport. The pictures showed all 3 of them smiling broadly with their expensive luggage. "Boarding now! Switzerland, here we come! So excited for this adventure!" My dad had added a thumbs-up emoji and a small American flag. Amanda sent a separate selfie to the group chat with the caption, "Best Christmas ever and it hasn't even started yet. Love you, Mom and Dad." Best Christmas ever. We'd see about that. We'd see how they felt about their best Christmas when they came home. I had the next 3 days off from the hospital, and I'd meticulously planned every single hour of those 72 hours down to the minute. First stop was my parents' house in the suburbs. They'd given me a key years ago for emergencies, back when they still pretended to care about including me in family matters. Well, this was an emergency of sorts, just not the kind they'd ever imagined when they handed me that key. I let myself in through the front door, standing in their living room where I'd spent so many holidays feeling invisible and worthless, looking around at the space that had never really felt like home to me. The house was exactly as they'd left it in their rush to get to the airport. Family photos covered every wall and surface, but they were mostly of Amanda. Amanda's high school graduation with her cap and gown. Amanda at the beach during some previous vacation. Amanda posing at her boutique job. Amanda everywhere I looked. There were maybe 3 photos of me total scattered around the entire house, all from when I was a kid under 10 years old. It was like I'd completely stopped existing to them after I turned 18 and moved out to start my independent life. After I stopped being cute and started being capable. I walked through each room slowly and deliberately, taking it all in, memorizing every detail. My childhood bedroom had been converted into Amanda's massive walk-in closet years ago, probably around the time I graduated from nursing school. Racks and racks of expensive clothes with tags still attached. Shelves overflowing with designer shoes that cost more than my monthly rent. Drawers full of jewelry and accessories. Meanwhile, all my childhood belongings, everything from my entire youth, had been unceremoniously boxed up and shoved into the garage next to the Christmas decorations and old paint cans. The message couldn't have been clearer if they'd spelled it out in neon lights. Amanda mattered. Amanda was valued. Amanda was loved. I didn't. I wasn't. I never had been. I pulled out my phone with hands that were surprisingly steady and made the first call. My voice was calm and professional, betraying none of the emotions churning inside me. Hi. Yes, I need to speak with someone about a property sale. I'm calling about the house at 847 Maple Drive in Seattle, Washington. I'd like to list it as soon as possible. As in, immediately. The real estate agent on the other end sounded excited and eager, probably sensing a quick commission. Wonderful. Is this your property, ma'am? I smiled at my reflection in Amanda's full-length mirror. It's my parents' house, but I have full power of attorney. We can start the process immediately. Today, if possible. Now, before you think I'm some kind of heartless villain, let me explain something absolutely crucial to understanding this entire situation. 6 months earlier, back in June, my dad had been diagnosed with early-stage dementia by his neurologist. Nothing catastrophically severe yet, but enough that he and my mom had been genuinely worried about managing their financial affairs and property in the future as his condition progressed. They'd asked me, the responsible one, the independent one, the daughter they could always count on to handle difficult situations, to become their power of attorney for both healthcare and financial decisions. I'd agreed immediately without hesitation because that's what good daughters do, right? That's what family means. I'd handled all the complicated paperwork, hired a lawyer to make sure everything was legal and proper and ironclad. My parents had signed every single document without reading the fine print, without asking questions, without understanding the full scope of what they were giving me. They trusted me completely and utterly. After all, I was the reliable one. The one who always did the right thing. The one who never caused problems or made waves. The one who just handled whatever needed to be handled without complaint. What they didn't realize, what they never bothered to understand, was that power of attorney gave me complete and total control over their property and finances. Every asset, every account, everything. The real estate agent, whose name was Patricia, and I scheduled a meeting for the very next day. The market's incredibly hot right now, she told me enthusiastically. A house in that neighborhood with those features, in that location, it could sell within a week, maybe even less with the right price. We might even get multiple offers over asking price. Buyers are desperate right now. I told her I wanted it sold before Christmas, before December 25th. She hesitated for just a moment, probably calculating timelines in her head. That's only 10 days away, ma'am. It's possible, definitely possible, but it'll be extremely tight. We need to move very fast on everything. But if you're serious, I think we can make it happen. After I hung up with Patricia, I made my second call. This one to my parents' bank, the same bank they'd used for 30 years. Hi, I need to make some transfers from my parents' account. Yes, I have power of attorney. I can send over all the documentation right now if you need it. The bank representative was helpful and efficient, asking all the standard security questions. Within an hour of careful verification, I'd transferred $50,000 from my parents' savings account directly into mine. Not all of their money. I wasn't trying to destroy them completely. Just enough to make a point. Just enough to show them what it felt like to lose something precious and valuable without warning or explanation. Not all of their savings, though. I wasn't a complete monster despite what they'd probably think later. Just enough to make them understand loss. Just enough to make them feel the panic and helplessness I'd felt every Christmas for 10 years. But as I stared at my phone screen showing the completed transaction, a tiny voice in the back of my head whispered, "Are you really going to do this? Are you really going to cross this line? Once you do this, there's absolutely no going back. You'll have burned this bridge forever. Is your hurt really worth destroying your entire family?" I silenced that voice and made another call to Patricia to confirm our appointment for tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up early and dressed carefully in professional clothes, wanting to look the part of a responsible daughter handling her parents' affairs. I met with Patricia, the real estate agent, at my parents' house at exactly 9 in the morning. Her name was Patricia Morrison, and she was a sharply dressed woman in her 50s who walked through every room of the house with growing enthusiasm and excitement. "This is an absolutely beautiful property," she kept saying, taking notes on her tablet. "Great bones, excellent location, well-maintained, updated kitchen. The neighborhood is highly desirable. I think we can list it at $750,000 easily. Maybe even $800,000 given the current market conditions." "List it at $700,000, I told Patricia firmly. cutting off her excited speculation about higher prices. I want it to sell fast. Price it to move quickly. I don't care about getting top dollar. I care about speed. She nodded, understanding immediately what I wanted, already taking photos with her professional camera for the listing. We can have it on the market by tomorrow morning if I work tonight. I'll schedule an open house for this Saturday. With the holidays coming up, buyers are very motivated. People want to close before the new year for tax purposes. We should get significant interest immediately. I signed all the necessary paperwork right there at the kitchen table. The same kitchen table where I'd eaten countless dinners over the years while my parents talked endlessly about Amanda's achievements, Amanda's dreams, Amanda's needs, and barely acknowledged my existence unless they needed something from me. When do you realistically think it'll sell? I asked Patricia, watching her pack up her materials. She considered the question carefully, her professional experience showing. If we get it listed tomorrow like I'm planning, do the open house on Saturday, and if the property shows as well as I think it will, I'd say we could have multiple offers by Sunday evening, maybe even close by the 23rd or 24th if we find cash buyers. Christmas Eve, I said softly, more to myself than to Patricia. It could actually close on Christmas Eve. Patricia smiled brightly, not understanding the deeper significance of that timing, not knowing the decade of pain behind my words. Possibly, that would be cutting it incredibly close with the holidays and everything, but if the buyers are motivated enough and willing to pay cash if they can skip the mortgage approval process, absolutely. I've closed deals faster than that before. It's rare, but it happens. I stood up from the table, looking around the house one final time as someone who belonged there. Make it happen. Whatever it takes. Use every connection you have. I want this done. After Patricia left to start working on the listing, I went through the house more carefully and methodically. I took the few photos of me that existed and carefully packed them in my car, claiming what was mine. I took my grandmother's pearl necklace that I'd been promised years ago when she died, but had never actually received because my mom kept forgetting to give it to me. I took the handmade quilt my aunt had made specifically for me when I graduated from nursing school that my mom had been using on Amanda's bed for the past 2 years. I took back everything that was rightfully mine. Everything they'd forgotten belonged to me. Everything they'd given to Amanda instead. I was reclaiming my history, piece by piece. Meanwhile, 5,000 miles away in Switzerland, my family was having the absolute time of their lives in the Swiss Alps. My phone kept buzzing constantly with updates that I'd specifically asked not to receive, but they sent anyway. Photos of Amanda skiing down pristine white slopes with professional instructors, videos of fancy multi-course dinners at restaurants I could never afford, selfies at the luxury hotel spa with cucumber slices and champagne. My mom's texts were absolutely constant, coming every few hours. The Alps are gorgeous! Amanda looks so happy and healthy. This trip was exactly what she needed. Best decision we ever made. Not once did anyone ask how I was doing. Not once did anyone say they missed me or wished I was there with them. Not even a simple Merry Early Christmas, Nicole, or thinking of you. And just complete radio silence about me, punctuated by their endless stream of perfect vacation photos showing their perfect family of 3. On December 20th, just 5 days before Christmas, I got the call I'd been waiting for from Patricia. Nicole, great news. Amazing news, actually. We had the open house yesterday afternoon, and it was absolutely packed. We already have 3 serious offers on the table. All of them above asking price. The market is even hotter than I thought. My heart started racing, pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. How much above asking? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady and professional. The highest offer is $725,000. Cash, no mortgage needed, no financing contingencies, clean and simple. Who are the buyers? I asked, genuinely curious about who would be moving into my childhood home. A couple relocating from California. Tech workers. They need to move immediately for new jobs in Seattle. They want to close on December 24th, Christmas Eve. They're offering $725,000 cash, and they'll take the house as is, no inspection repairs required. I thought about my parents at that exact moment, probably sitting in some incredibly expensive Swiss restaurant, celebrating Amanda's existence, toasting to her future, completely forgetting that I existed somewhere in the world. Accept the offer, I said firmly. My decision made. I'll sign whatever you need me to sign. Draw up all the papers. Make it happen as fast as humanly possible. Patricia was absolutely thrilled, probably already calculating her substantial commission. Wonderful. This is wonderful. I'll draw up the papers today and send them over for your signature. We'll need to move incredibly fast, but we can absolutely do this. Your parents must be so excited about this sale. What a great Christmas present for them." She had no idea how ironic that statement was. "They don't know yet," I said calmly, my voice betraying nothing. "They're on vacation in Europe. I'm handling everything for them while they're away. That's why I have power of attorney. To take care of these things." There was a brief pause on Patricia's end. "Oh, well, that's very thoughtful of you to take care of all this while they're traveling. What a good daughter you are. They're lucky to have you." Thoughtful? Lucky? Sure. That's exactly what this was. The next few days were an absolute blur of paperwork, signatures, phone calls, and preparations. I signed everything Patricia sent me, approved everything, moved the sale forward with ruthless efficiency. On December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas, I got the final call from Patricia. Her voice was excited and congratulatory. "We're all set. Everything's finalized. Closing is tomorrow morning at 10. The buyers are wiring the funds tonight. The title company has everything ready. Congratulations on a successful sale." I thanked her professionally and hung up. Then I pulled up my parents' flight information on my phone. They were scheduled to land at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport at exactly 6 in the evening on December 25th, Christmas Day. They'd arrive home from their perfect Switzerland vacation to find their house had been sold out from under them. Everything gone. New owners already moved in. Their entire world turned upside down. And I'd be there waiting at the airport to tell them exactly what I'd done and why. Christmas Eve morning arrived cold and clear. I drove to the title company for the closing appointment, feeling strangely calm and detached. The California couple was already there when I arrived, both of them visibly excited and nervous about their major purchase. They looked to be in their early 30s, casually dressed, friendly. "We just absolutely love the house," the wife told me enthusiastically, shaking my hand. "The location is perfect for our jobs. The neighborhood is exactly what we've been looking for. We can't believe it was available right before Christmas. It feels like fate, honestly, like it was meant to be ours." The husband nodded enthusiastically, equally thrilled. "We've been looking for months. This is our dream home. Thank you so much for accepting our offer so quickly." We signed all the papers over the next hour. Stack after stack of documents. Initials here, signatures there, dates everywhere. $725,000 transferred electronically into the account. Well, technically into my parents' account since I had power of attorney. But with my legal authority, what was theirs was essentially mine to manage and control. The sale was done. Final. Legal. Irreversible. Recorded with the county. The California couple got the keys to their new home, smiling and laughing and hugging each other. I walked out of that title company office feeling lighter than I had in years. No guilt weighing me down. Only relief. Pure, clean relief that I'd finally taken action. Finally stood up for myself. Finally made them understand what loss felt like. I spent Christmas Eve alone in my apartment, just like every other year for the past decade. But this time was completely different. This time, I wasn't the forgotten daughter desperately waiting for scraps of attention and affection. I wasn't checking my phone hoping for a Merry Christmas text that would never come. I was the one holding all the cards. I was the one with all the power. I was the one who would determine what happened next. I ordered Chinese food from my favorite restaurant and watched old classic movies on television. My phone stayed completely silent. No texts from Switzerland. No Merry Christmas Eve messages. No photos. Nothing. Just silence. At exactly midnight, when Christmas Eve turned into Christmas Day, I finally sent a text to the family group chat. Just one simple message. "Merry Christmas. Hope you're having fun in Switzerland. See you tomorrow at the airport." My mom responded within 60 seconds, clearly still awake despite the time difference. "Merry Christmas, honey. We're having the absolute best time. Amanda just loved the skiing today. The instructor said she's a natural. Can't wait to tell you all about it when we get home tomorrow." All about it. Like I was supposed to sit there and listen politely to stories about the vacation I wasn't invited to. The vacation I'd spent every Christmas listening to for the past 10 years while eating takeout alone. Christmas morning arrived with fresh snow covering Seattle, making everything look clean and pure. I woke up to more photos flooding the family group chat from Switzerland. Amanda opening expensive gifts at the hotel. My parents had bought her a designer watch that probably cost thousands of dollars. "Our Christmas angel," my mom's caption read with about 15 heart emojis. I looked at that photo for a long time, studying their happy faces. Meanwhile, I was spending another Christmas completely alone in my apartment, but not for much longer. By tonight, everything would change forever. By tonight, they'd finally understand what it felt like to lose something precious. I spent Christmas Day meticulously preparing for their arrival. I printed out all the closing documents from the house sale, every single page. I printed out the bank transfer receipts showing the $50,000 I'd moved. I printed out every single vacation photo they'd sent me over the past 10 years. Every trip I hadn't been invited to. Every Christmas I'd spent alone. I organized everything into a neat folder with tabs and labels. Evidence, proof, documentation of exactly why I'd done what I'd done. A complete record of their neglect and my response. At 3 in the afternoon, I drove to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Their flight was scheduled to land at 6, but I wanted to be there early. I wanted to be waiting when they walked out of baggage claim. I wanted to see their faces in that first moment when I told them what I'd done. I sat in the airport coffee shop for 3 hours, sipping overpriced lattes and watching families reunite. Happy people hugging tightly. Children running excitedly to their grandparents. Everyone smiling and laughing and celebrating Christmas together. Normal families. Functional families. Families that didn't forget one child while spoiling the other. Families that actually loved all their children equally. At 5:30, I checked the flight status on my phone. On time. They'd be landing in 30 minutes. I gathered my folder and walked slowly to the baggage claim area. Found a spot near the escalator where I could see them coming down. My heart was pounding hard in my chest. Not from fear or anxiety. From anticipation. From excitement. From 10 years of hurt finally finding its voice and its power. From finally making them see me as a real person, with real feelings, who deserved real love and attention. 6:15. I saw them before they saw me. My dad pulling 2 large suitcases. My mom and Amanda walking beside him, laughing about something. Probably some inside joke from their trip. All 3 of them tan and relaxed and happy. They looked like a complete family unit. A perfect family of 3. Just missing one person who'd never really belonged anyway. Just missing the daughter they'd forgotten existed. They spotted me standing there and waved casually. "Nicole!" my mom called out, sounding genuinely surprised to see me. "What are you doing here at the airport? We were going to just take a rideshare home." "I came to pick you up," I said, walking toward them with the folder held against my chest. "Welcome home. We need to talk. There's something extremely important I need to tell you. Something that happened while you were gone." My dad looked concerned immediately, his face showing worry. "Is everything okay? Did something happen while we were in Switzerland? Is someone hurt?" I held up the folder, letting them see it. "Let's go to my car. We'll talk there. Everything will become very clear very soon." And what I was about to reveal would shatter their perfect Christmas vacation into a million irreparable pieces. We walked to the parking garage in complete silence. Amanda was scrolling through her phone, probably checking Instagram and posting more Switzerland photos for her followers. My mom was still chattering excitedly about the trip, completely oblivious to the tension. The hotel was absolutely stunning, Nicole. You wouldn't believe how beautiful everything was. And the food. Oh my God, the food! Nicole, you seriously wouldn't believe the food we ate. Amanda tried authentic Swiss fondue for the first time and she loved it. We ate at this one restaurant that had 2 Michelin stars. I loaded their expensive matching luggage into my trunk without saying a single word, just letting her talk. I didn't start the car after we all got in. Instead, I turned around in my seat to face them directly. "Before we go anywhere, before I drive you home, I need to show you something important. Something you need to see and understand." I opened the folder slowly and deliberately, pulling out the first document. The closing papers from the house sale with all the official stamps and signatures. "What's this?" my dad asked, taking the papers from my hand. He squinted at the small print, trying to read in the dim parking garage lighting. Then his face went completely pale, all the color draining away. "This is our house. This says our house was sold. On Christmas Eve. But that's impossible. This has to be some kind of mistake." My mom grabbed the papers roughly from him, her hands shaking. "What? That's impossible. There must be some terrible mistake. Someone must have filed wrong paperwork or something. Nicole, what is this? Why do you have these papers? Can you call the title company and sort this out?" Her voice was rising with panic, getting higher and more shrill with each word. I stayed completely calm, my voice steady and even. "It's not a mistake, Mom. I sold the house. The closing was yesterday morning at 10. The new owners, a lovely couple from California, took possession at noon. Your house is gone. Sold. You don't own it anymore." The silence in the car was absolutely deafening. You could have heard a pin drop. Amanda leaned forward from the back seat, her vacation glow fading fast. What are you talking about? You can't just sell someone's house. That's crazy. That's illegal. You can't do that. I pulled out the power of attorney documents, the papers they'd signed 6 months ago without reading carefully. Actually, I can. You remember 6 months ago when Dad was diagnosed with early dementia? You asked me to be your power of attorney, both healthcare and financial. You signed all the papers. You gave me complete legal control over your property and finances. Every asset. Every decision. My mom was shaking her head violently, her perfectly styled hair coming loose. But that was for emergencies. That was to help us if something went wrong with your father's condition. That wasn't permission to sell our house without asking us, without even telling us. We trusted you. I pulled out the bank transfer receipts next, adding them to the pile of papers in her lap. I also transferred $50,000 from your savings account into mine. All perfectly legal according to the power of attorney agreement. All within my rights as your designated financial agent. My dad's hands were trembling visibly, his whole body shaking. Nicole, what have you done? Why would you do this to us? We're your parents. We love you. Why? I laughed, and the sound that came out was bitter and harsh and nothing like my normal laugh. You really have to ask me why. After 10 years of forgetting I exist every single Christmas, after 10 years of taking Amanda on luxury vacations to Paris and Italy and Greece and the Bahamas and Spain, and now Switzerland, while I spend every holiday completely alone eating Chinese takeout in my apartment, after an entire lifetime of treating me like I don't matter, like I'm invisible, I pulled out all the vacation photos next, the entire decade of exclusion documented, scattered them across the front seats like confetti. Italy, Greece, the Bahamas, Spain, and now Switzerland. 10 years of trips I was never once invited to. 10 years of being told I was too independent to need a family Christmas. My mom's face had gone from pale white to angry red, her chest heaving. This is absolutely insane. You sold our house, our home of 30 years because you're jealous of your sister? Because you're upset about Christmas presents and vacations? You've destroyed our entire lives because of petty jealousy? Her voice was shaking with pure rage. You're acting like a spoiled child. We gave you everything. We put you through school. We supported you. I looked at her directly, holding her gaze. No, Mom. I destroyed your comfort because you destroyed my place in this family years ago. There's a big difference. You lost your house today, but I lost my family 10 years ago. At least your loss can be fixed with money. Mine required actual change, actual effort, actual love. Amanda was openly crying in the back seat now, tears running down her face, mascara smudging. I can't believe you would do this. You're my sister. You're supposed to love me. How could you hurt Mom and Dad like this? They've done everything for you. They gave you everything. I turned to look at her, my voice quiet but firm. I do love you, Amanda. I always have. But loving you doesn't mean I have to accept being invisible. Loving you doesn't mean I have to watch you get everything while I get nothing. Loving you doesn't mean I have to spend every Christmas alone while you three make memories together. Love should go both ways in a family. My dad was still holding the closing papers, staring at them like they were written in a foreign language he couldn't understand. Where are we supposed to live? We just got back from a 2-week vacation. We're exhausted. We have nowhere to go. All our belongings are in that house. Our furniture, our clothes, our memories. 30 years of our lives are in that house. I shrugged, feeling nothing but cold determination. You'll figure it out. You're resourceful people. You always have been. Maybe Amanda can help you. After all, she's been living with you completely rent-free for 29 years. Maybe it's finally time she contributed something to the family besides being the favorite. This is illegal, my mom shouted, her voice echoing in the confined space of the car. We'll sue you. We'll take you to court. We'll get a lawyer and have this reversed. You can't do this to us. This is elder abuse. This is financial exploitation. I pulled out the final set of documents from my folder, laying them carefully on top of all the others. These are copies of everything. The power of attorney you signed with your own hands. The legal sale documents recorded with the county. The bank transfers authorized by my legal authority. It's all completely legal. I had 3 different lawyers review everything before I did it. Everything by the book. You gave me this power willingly. I just used it. You signed the papers without reading them because you trusted me. My dad looked absolutely broken, like someone had taken away his will to live. But Nicole, we're your parents. We raised you. We love you. We've always loved you. How could you possibly do this to the people who brought you into this world and gave you everything? Those words, "We love you," said now, when it was too late. Said now, when they needed something from me desperately. Said now, when their world was falling apart. If you loved me, you would have invited me to Christmas. If you loved me, you would have seen me as more than just the independent daughter who didn't need attention. If you loved me, you would have treated me the same way you treated Amanda. But you didn't. And now we're here. The drive to the hotel was completely silent except for Amanda's continuous crying in the back seat. My mom kept trying to call lawyers from her phone, scrolling through Google results desperately, but it was Christmas night. Nobody was answering their phones. Every office was closed. Every attorney was home with their families. My dad just stared out the window at the passing Seattle streets, looking lost and confused and much older than his 63 years. I pulled up to a decent hotel near the airport, one I'd researched ahead of time. This should work for tonight. I called earlier. They have rooms available. They're expecting you. My mom grabbed my arm tightly as I helped unload their suitcases from the trunk, her fingers digging into my skin. Please, Nicole, please don't do this to us. We can fix this. We can make everything right. Just put the house back in our name somehow. Call those California people and tell them there was a mistake. Reverse the sale. We'll do whatever you want. Just, please. I gently but firmly removed her hand from my arm. The sale is final, Mom. Recorded with the county. The house is gone. You can't reverse it. You can't fix it. You can't make it disappear. Just like you can't reverse the past 10 years of making me feel absolutely worthless. Just like you can't fix a decade of damage with one apology made in desperation. Amanda stepped forward, her face blotchy from crying, her voice shaking. What about all my stuff? All my clothes, my furniture, my makeup and jewelry? Everything I own in the entire world is in that house. You can't just take everything away from me. I have rights. I opened my car door, ready to leave them here. I had everything packed up professionally and put in a storage unit across town. The key and address are in this envelope. I handed her a manila envelope I'd prepared. You have 1 month paid in advance. After that, you'll need to pay the monthly storage fee yourself, or they'll auction everything off to the highest bidder. Everything will be gone if you don't pay. My dad was still standing there on the sidewalk, looking at me like he didn't recognize me anymore, like I'd become a stranger. When did you become so cruel? When did our sweet daughter turn into someone who could do something like this without any remorse? His words hit me harder than my mom's anger or Amanda's tears, cutting deeper than I expected. I'm not being cruel, Dad. I'm being exactly what you taught me to be. Independent, strong, self-sufficient. You said I was so independent, so good at handling things on my own, so capable of managing without help. So I handled this situation on my own. I used the skills you always praise me for having. I got into my car, my hands shaking slightly as I gripped the steering wheel. Before I drove away, I rolled down my window one last time. Merry Christmas. I hope Switzerland was worth it. I hope those 2 weeks of skiing and fancy dinners were worth losing your home. I hope Amanda's happiness was worth destroying mine for 10 years straight. Then I left them standing there in front of the hotel with their expensive matching suitcases and their shock and their disbelief and their sudden homelessness. I drove home through empty Christmas streets, past houses decorated with lights, past families visible through windows. I should have felt guilty. I should have felt terrible about what I'd done, but all I felt was relief. Pure, clean relief that I'd finally stood up for myself. Relief that I'd finally made them understand, even just a little bit, what it felt like to be forgotten and discarded. The next morning, December 26th, my phone absolutely exploded with messages starting at 6 a.m. My mom had clearly called every single member of our extended family to tell them what I'd done, probably painting herself as the victim and me as some kind of monster. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion about my actions. My Aunt Karen, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, called me a heartless monster who deserved to be alone forever. My Uncle Dave, my dad's brother, sent a long text message about how I'd gone way too far and destroyed the family. Cousins I hadn't talked to in years were suddenly messaging me about family values and forgiveness and respect for your elders. But the most interesting message came from my grandmother, my dad's mother, who I'd always been closest to growing up. She was 86 years old and lived in a nursing home in Portland, Oregon. Nicole, your mother called me this morning at 5:30, very upset and crying hysterically. She told me what you did to them, about selling their house and taking their money. I need you to call me immediately. This is important. I called her back, expecting another lecture about family loyalty and forgiveness. Hi, Grandma, I said quietly, bracing myself for her disappointment in me. Her voice was surprisingly strong despite her age, clear and sharp. Your mother says you sold their house and took $50,000 from their account. She says you did it because you were upset about Christmas vacations and feeling left out. Is that true? Did you really do that? I explained everything to her. Every detail. The 10 years of exclusion from family Christmares, the luxury trips for Amanda while I spent holidays alone, the constant dismissal of my feelings, the power of attorney they'd given me, the legal sale that I'd executed perfectly. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone that stretched for at least 30 seconds. Then my grandmother laughed. She actually laughed out loud, a genuine sound of amusement. Good for you, Nicole. Seriously, good for you, sweetheart. I was absolutely stunned, my mouth hanging open. What? You're not mad at me? You don't think I'm a terrible person? She laughed again, the sound making me smile despite everything. Mad? Honey, I'm proud of you for finally standing up for yourself. I've been watching your parents play favorites with you and Amanda for 30 years now, ever since you were both little girls. Ever since Amanda was born and suddenly you didn't matter anymore. I've told them repeatedly, for years, that they were damaging you, that they were creating deep resentment, that this favoritism would destroy your relationship eventually. They never listened to me. They always had excuses. Well, maybe now they'll finally understand what they've done. You're not mad at me? I repeated, hardly able to believe what I was hearing. Mad? Honey, I'm proud of you. You finally stood up for yourself after years of taking their neglect. Your parents needed a serious wake-up call, a big one, a shocking one. Maybe now they'll understand what they've done to you all these years. Maybe now they'll see you as a real person with real feelings. She paused, and I could hear her breathing. That being said, you can't keep the house money forever. You know that, right? Eventually you'll have to give it back. This can't be permanent. I nodded even though she couldn't see me through the phone. I know, Grandma. I was never planning to keep it permanently. I just wanted them to feel what I've felt. Powerless, forgotten, like nothing they did mattered to anyone. So what's your actual plan here? My grandmother asked carefully. You must have thought this through. What happens next? I smiled, feeling validated for the first time since this whole thing started. I'm going to give them back the house money, all of it, plus the $50,000 I transferred. Every single penny. But not yet. Not until they apologize sincerely. Not until they admit what they've done to me. Not until they understand that I'm not invisible. That I matter. That I deserve the same love they give Amanda freely. My grandmother was quiet for a moment, thinking, and if they don't apologize? What if they just stay angry and refuse to admit any wrongdoing? I thought about that possibility, which I'd considered many times. Then I guess they'll have to figure out how to buy a new house. But I don't think it'll come to that. I think losing everything has finally made them see me. And suddenly I realized I was at a crossroads. Keep the money and lose my family forever? Give it back and risk nothing changing? Or find another way to make this right while still holding them accountable? The weight of that decision pressed down on me. 3 days after Christmas, on December 28th, my parents finally agreed to meet me face to face. Not at a restaurant where people could overhear. Not at a coffee shop where we'd have to be civil. At my apartment. On my territory. On my terms. They showed up at exactly 2 p.m, looking absolutely exhausted and defeated. My mom had deep bags under her eyes, and her hair wasn't styled like usual. My dad looked older somehow, like he'd aged 5 years in 3 days. The weight of homelessness showed on both their faces. Amanda wasn't with them, notably absent. She's too upset to see you right now, my mom explained coldly, her voice dripping with judgment. She's been crying constantly since Christmas. She can barely function. You've traumatized your own sister. I let them into my small apartment, the place I'd lived alone for years while they vacationed with Amanda. We sat in my tiny living room, the same living room where I'd spent so many Christmases completely alone while they were off making memories without me, eating takeout and watching old movies by myself. We want the money back, my mom started immediately, not even bothering with basic pleasantries or greetings. No, hello, no, how are you? Just straight to what they wanted from me. All of it. And we want you to help us buy a new house since you sold ours. We need you to co-sign on a mortgage since our credit is frozen right now. We need you to fix what you broke. I looked at them both calmly, my hands folded in my lap. No, I'm not doing any of that right now. My dad leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his voice pleading. Nicole, please be reasonable about this. We're your parents. We raised you. We're homeless. We've been staying in a hotel for 3 days and it's costing us $200 a night. We need that money desperately. We need to find a place to live. You have to help us. You did this to us. I'll give you the money back, I said slowly, letting each word sink in. All of it. The $725,000 from the house sale and the $50,000 I transferred from your savings. Every single penny. You'll get it all back. But first, before I give you anything, you need to do something for me. Something important. My mom crossed her arms defensively across her chest, her jaw set. We're not apologizing if that's what you're demanding. We didn't do anything wrong. We don't owe you an apology. You're the one who betrayed us. You're the one who destroyed our lives. You're the one who should be apologizing to us. I stood up and walked to my bookshelf, pulling out a photo album I'd carefully made over the years. Look at this. I want you to really look at it. I opened it to the first page, showing them a picture of me sitting alone in this apartment on Christmas 5 years ago. Then I flipped to the next page. Another Christmas. Me alone with takeout. Then another year. And another. And another. 10 years of solo Christmas photos documenting my loneliness. Does this look like someone who was fine being independent? Does this look like someone who didn't need her family? My dad stared at the photos, his eyes filling with tears. My mom looked away, unable or unwilling to face the evidence of what they'd done. Strong. I repeated the word my mom had just used to describe me, letting it hang in the air. You keep saying I'm so strong, so independent, so capable. Do you know what that word actually means to me, Mom? It means you didn't think I had feelings that could be hurt. It means you thought I didn't need love or attention because I could handle being alone. It means you used my independence, my capability, my responsibility as an excuse to neglect me emotionally for years. You took the qualities that should have made you proud and used them as reasons to ignore me. My dad was openly crying now, tears streaming down his face unchecked. Actual tears running down his face, his shoulders shaking. We messed up. We see that now. We really do. We should have done things differently. We should have included you. We should have seen how much we were hurting you. I'm so sorry, Nicole. I'm so sorry we failed you as parents. It was the closest thing to an actual sincere apology I'd gotten from either of them in 10 years. The first acknowledgement that they'd done something wrong. Here's exactly what's going to happen, I said, sitting back down and pulling out a piece of paper I'd prepared with my conditions written out clearly. I'm giving you back all the money. Every penny. $725,000 from the house sale. $50,000 from the transfer. $775,000 total. You can buy a new house with it. You can rebuild your lives. You can start over. But there are very specific conditions you must agree to first. Non-negotiable conditions. My mom wiped her eyes, looking at me warily. What conditions? What do you want from us? I pulled out the paper and read from it. First condition. Amanda moves out immediately. She's 29 years old. She's a grown adult. She needs to support herself like I've been doing since I was 22. No more rent-free living. No more credit cards paid by you. No more designer clothes on your dime. She stands on her own 2 feet and learns what independence actually means. My dad started to protest, opening his mouth to defend Amanda, but I held up my hand firmly. Second condition. Family holidays are split equally from now on. If you take Amanda on a trip, you invite me too. Same trip, same time, same budget. Or you alternate years. Amanda 1 year, me the next year. No more exclusions, no more favorites, equal treatment, or no relationship. My mom was shaking her head vigorously, her face getting red again. You can't dictate how we spend time with our children. You can't control our relationship with Amanda. That's not fair to her. She didn't do anything wrong in all this. I shrugged, completely unmoved by her protest. Then you can't have your money back. It's that simple. Your choice entirely. Take it or leave it. I'm not negotiating these terms. There was a long, tense silence that stretched for at least a full minute. Finally, my dad spoke, his voice defeated. Okay, we agree. We accept your conditions. Amanda moves out and gets her own place. Holidays are equal between both of you. We'll do it. What else? What's the third condition? I looked at them both seriously, knowing this next one would be the hardest for them to accept. Third, and this is the most important one of all, you both go to therapy. Real therapy with a licensed professional. Family therapy together and individual therapy separately. You need to understand why what you did was wrong. You need to learn how to treat both your daughters equally. You need to work through whatever made you think it was okay to play favorites for 30 years. I won't have any relationship with you at all until you commit to serious therapy and actually follow through. My mom stood up angrily, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're not going to therapy because you had your feelings hurt by vacation plans. We're not paying some stranger to tell us we're bad parents. This is manipulation. This is blackmail. I remained seated, completely calm. Then we're done here. No therapy, no money, no relationship. You can leave now. The door is right there. Your choice. My dad grabbed my mom's arm and pulled her back down into her chair, his grip firm. We'll go to therapy. We'll do whatever you want, Nicole. We'll do the individual sessions and the family sessions. We'll work on ourselves. Just please, give us back the money. Help us fix this mess. We're desperate here. We'll do anything. I studied them both carefully, searching their faces for sincerity. They looked broken and defeated, humbled. For the first time in my entire life, they were really seeing me. Not as the independent daughter who didn't need anything from anyone, but as a person they'd deeply hurt. A person who mattered. A person who deserved better than what they'd given me. I transferred the money back to them that same afternoon. All $775,000 wired directly to their account. They bought a smaller house in a different neighborhood within 2 weeks. Not as nice as their old house, not as big, not in as prestigious an area, but comfortable enough and completely paid for with cash. No mortgage. Amanda moved into her own small apartment across town and got a full-time job managing a retail store. She wasn't happy about it at all. She complained constantly about having to work 40 hours a week and pay her own bills. But she was learning what independence actually meant. She was learning what I'd been living for 10 years. She was learning to stand on her own feet like I'd been forced to do. My parents started therapy the following week, just as they'd promised. Individual sessions twice a week and family sessions once a week. It was incredibly awkward at first. Lots of uncomfortable silences, lots of tears and difficult conversations, lots of truths being spoken out loud that had been buried for decades. In one particularly difficult session about 2 months in, my mom finally admitted something crucial. She said she'd favored Amanda because Amanda reminded her of herself when she was young. She needed more attention because she was struggling with confidence and self-esteem, my mom explained, her voice shaking. You were always so capable, Nicole. So smart and independent and strong. You never seemed to need us the way Amanda did. You figured everything out on your own. I'd looked at her directly across the therapist's office and said clearly, everyone needs their parents, Mom, even capable people, even independent people, even strong people. I needed you desperately, and you weren't there for me. You chose comfort over fairness. You chose ease over equality. You chose Amanda's immediate needs over my long-term well-being. That's what you did. Those words, spoken in that therapy session, seemed to finally break through to her. I watched something shift in her expression, some wall finally crumbling. That session changed something fundamental between us. My mom started really hearing me instead of just listening, really understanding instead of just nodding, really seeing me as someone she'd failed. My dad admitted in another session that he'd gone along with the favoritism because it was easier than confronting my mom about it. I was a coward, he said, his voice full of shame and regret. I saw what was happening. I knew it was wrong. I knew you were being hurt. But I let you be hurt anyway because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want conflict in my marriage. I chose peace with your mother over protecting you. That was wrong. That was cowardly. I failed you as a father. The actual apology, the real sincere apology I'd been waiting for, came 3 months after I'd sold their house. We were in a family therapy session, all 3 of us sitting in comfortable chairs in Dr. Patterson's office. My mom looked at me with genuine tears in her eyes and said, I'm sorry, Nicole. I'm so deeply sorry for making you feel invisible for so many years, for forgetting you, for neglecting you, for not being the mother you deserved to have. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. You deserved equal love and attention. You deserved to be celebrated. You deserved to be included. And I failed you. I failed you terribly as a mother. My dad echoed her words with his own apology. We failed you. We see that now. We can't undo the past 10 years. We can't give you back those Christmases you spent alone. But we want to do better going forward. We want to be better parents to you. If you'll let us. If you'll give us another chance. I cried in that session. Not because I was sad, but because I was finally hearing the words I'd needed for 10 years. The validation that I hadn't imagined at all. That it had been real. That their favoritism had been real and damaging. That I had deserved better. That my hurt was legitimate and justified. Today, a year later, things are genuinely different. We had Christmas together this past year. All of us. No exotic trips, no luxury vacations, just dinner at my parents' new house. Turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and all the traditional foods. And for the first time in a decade, I felt like I belonged. Like I was part of the family instead of an outsider looking in. Amanda and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship too. It's not perfect. It probably never will be completely perfect. But we're trying. She apologized to me about 6 months ago, sitting in my apartment over coffee. I didn't realize how good I had it, she told me honestly, her voice quiet and ashamed. I didn't realize what you were going through all those years. I was so focused on myself that I never noticed you were hurting. I never saw how differently they treated us. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. I'm sorry I didn't notice. I'm sorry I was part of the problem. We're not best friends. Maybe we never will be. But we're sisters, and we're genuinely trying to have a real relationship. Looking back now, a full year later, I don't regret what I did. Not for a single second. Some people in my extended family still call it extreme and cruel. Some people still say I went way too far. My Aunt Karen still won't speak to me. Some cousins think I'm a terrible person. But sometimes, the only way to make people truly see you is to completely shake their entire world. To make them understand viscerally what it feels like to lose something precious and irreplaceable. To force them to experience the pain they've been inflicting on you. My family lost their house. That's true. But I'd lost my place in the family years before that. I'd lost my sense of belonging. I'd lost my confidence that I mattered to my own parents. I'd lost 10 years of potential family memories. At least their loss could be fixed with money and time. Mine required actual change. Actual effort. Actual love. Actual commitment to being better. And you know what? They're putting in that effort now. They're showing up for me. They're trying genuinely. They're doing the work. My parents still mess up sometimes. Old habits die hard. But when they do slip into old patterns, I call them out immediately. And they apologize. And they do better the next time. That's growth. That's change. That's what I needed all along. So, here's my final question for all of you watching this video right now. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever been the one who was overlooked and forgotten while someone else got all the attention and love and resources? Have you ever wondered if you mattered at all to the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally? Drop your stories in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear them. I want to know I'm not alone in this experience. And please, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who feels invisible. Someone who thinks they're being too sensitive. Someone who needs permission to stand up for themselves. Subscribe to the channel because I've got more stories like this one coming your way soon. Real stories about standing up for yourself when nobody else will. About demanding the respect you deserve from people who should give it freely. About refusing to be invisible anymore. About taking your power back from people who've been taking advantage of your kindness. Thanks for watching this whole video, and remember this truth. Being independent doesn't mean you don't deserve love and attention. It just means you're strong enough to demand it when it's not freely given. And sometimes, demanding it means doing things that seem extreme or shocking. But when you've been forgotten and neglected for a decade, when you've spent 10 years being invisible, extreme action is exactly what's needed to finally be seen. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to rebuild something better. Sometimes you have to break everything to force real change. And I'd do it all again if I had to.